Hello, and thank you so much for joining us. My name is Avery Coleman, investment analyst here at Cornerstone Advisors Asset Management. Joining me today is Angela Ost, our Director of Planned Giving and Undercover Superwoman. Over the years, Angela and I have had hundreds of conversations with clients, and we found that the same questions keep popping up. Clients would always preface their questions with, I feel like I should know this answer, but could you explain? Fill in the blank. The planned giving world is complicated, and we know that. Employees join and leave your organizations regularly, and the training begins again. So we've decided to compile a series of videos to answer some of those frequently asked questions so you can start to maintain a library and share with your employees and hopefully answer all the questions that they may think are a little bit too silly to ask. And they definitely aren't. We're going to focus on charitable gift annuities for today, CGAs, but perhaps at some point in the future, we'll start talking about even more complex planned giving vehicles. So with that being said, Angela, let's get started.
Awesome. Thank you, Avery, for that wonderful introduction. And before we jump into any of the content here, I just want to preface this with the fact that we are not providing any tax or legal advice. So please consult your advisor for your specific situation.
Absolutely. That's always a good idea. And so to start off, what is a CGA?
Sure. So a CGA, it's a charitable gift annuity, and it's a planned giving vehicle where a donor makes a gift of cash or appreciated securities in exchange for a stream of income for their entire life, as well as a partial tax deduction.
And as the donor, what are the benefits that I'd receive by opening up a CGA?
Sure, there's a few specific ones that I would touch on. So I think first of all, from a donor perspective, this is really a fixed income vehicle. It is providing fixed income for your entire life. So no matter what the value of that gift is, whatever payment amount you received on that initial payment, that will carry on for your entire life. You also receive tax-free income up until your life expectancy, and that life expectancy is determined when your gift is established. It's based off of mortality tables and actuarial standards. And I think the last part that I wanted to touch on today is the fact that you also receive a charitable deduction when that gift is set up. It's typically for, I'd say, anywhere from 30 to 50% of that original gift amount. It all depends on the design of the gift, but it's typically around that amount. And one other thing I should mention is the fact that a qualified charitable distribution CGA is becoming more and more popular. Tax-free income and a charitable deduction does not happen with that type of gift design. So just keep that in mind. We are not referring to that type of gift when we say any type of tax-free income or a deduction.
Gotcha on that one. And then from the perspective of the nonprofit organization, what are their benefits to issuing CGAs?
I'd say first and foremost is the fact that a CGA is so easy to implement. They are state specific, so there's agreements that we already have set up with PG Calc, who is our back office administrator. And all of those are in our system. So depending on where your donor lives, we'll pull that specific state agreement. You don't have to work with an attorney like you would if you were setting up a charitable trust, for example. So very simple to implement. It can be done in a matter of days.
And are there like minimum or maximum gift amounts? Is it unlimited or?
So as far as a minimum gift amount, typically organizations have a $10,000 minimum. We are seeing over the last couple of years that minimum increase to a $25,000 minimum. And that's just so that organizations have a better chance of receiving something of a sizable amount at the passing of the donor.
And then it's the same thing for age. Is there a minimum age or a maximum age, or is it up to the organization?
Yeah, so it's a suggested minimum age is 65. There's really no maximum. You could be 100 plus to set up a CGA. We obviously don't see that all that often. Typically, there's younger people that want to set it up as opposed to older individuals. But the rate that you receive is based upon your age. So the younger you are, the lower the payout. The higher you are, the higher the payout.
Is that the only impact difference between, for example, a 65-year-old and an 85-year-old, or are there other differences that those two groups would have in the same CGA?
Sure. So that's the big difference is all the payout percentage. A 65-year-old would receive about 5.4% right now, and that's based upon the ACGA rates that were issued in January of 2023. And an 85-year-old right now would receive 8.7%. So you can see the difference in the payout rate just by waiting those years. But of course, there's less risk to the organization for setting up a gift for an 85-year-old as opposed to a 65-year-old, because you likely, statistically speaking, have less time to pay that individual.
And then, so like, so that's 65 to 85. What about a little bit closer and like a 95 and 105 or 110? Would they get the same rate, or is there a maximum, like after a certain age, everybody gets the same?
Yeah, so after 90, the rates cap out, excuse me. So once you hit 90, you could be 90, 95, 100, 105. You're going to receive the same amount. And right now, the ACGA rate is 9.7%. So it's quite significant. It has gone up from previous rate adjustments. So something to keep in mind if you have an older donor.
And how much do organizations generally receive after closing a CGA? Do they get, is it like all of it, or, how much should we expect?
Sure. So not all of it. The ACGA sets their rates for the organization to hopefully receive about 50% of that principal gift amount. So, for example, if an annuitant sets up a gift for $10,000, the hope is that the organization would receive about $5,000 when that individual passes. But again, it's all based upon actuarial standards. There's a lot that plays into the value of the gift, such as an individual living longer or market volatility. So that is a guideline, but of course it doesn't always happen that way.
Okay. And you said the ACGA sets the rates. How often are they updated?
Yeah, so they really do track the market rates. As we see rates increase in the market, we typically see the ACGA rates increase as well, and vice versa. Of course, it's not as quick of a fluctuation as it is in the market. So the last rate adjustment happened in January of 2023. Prior to then, there were a couple of adjustments upwards over the last couple of years, but they review rates regularly, but they don't make a ton of adjustments. It's not a quick process to do.
Okay, so there's some stability built in there, at least.
There is.
Are there different rates depending on the state that the organization is in, or the state that the donor's in?
So in the past, New York has offered different maximum rates. There are discussions with the ACGA about adjusting that so that we're all on the same schedule. Other than that, they're typically all ACGA rates is what an organization should offer. Granted, there are organizations out there that are known to offer a different rate. It is not suggested. The goal is for about 50% of that principal amount to come back. And if you're offering your donor a higher rate, that's a lot more risk that you're putting on your organization, because again, this is a contract that you must pay your donor regardless of the payout that you decided on, and regardless of the value of that gift. You need to pay your donor until they pass away. So that could be a long time horizon. So keep that in mind whenever you're looking at rates as well.
Yeah, it's tough to go rogue in the world of rates.
Yeah, no, it's not worth it.
Ill advertised. Are there any restrictions on what organizations can do with the money that they get from these CGAs after the money goes back to them after the donor has passed?
Sure. So when a donor sets up a charitable gift annuity with your organization, they will designate a purpose within that agreement. More often than not, most organizations will request that you use general purposes as the designation, and that way they can use your proceeds, the residuum value, for a purpose that's needed at the time of your passing. But a lot of organizations as well will allow you to put a different scholarship or a building, whatever it might be, to fund upon your passing as well. But I would say typically we see general purposes, although that's not required.
Okay. And then, so as an organization, if I have an interested donor, what should I do? How would that go?
Sure. So if you do have an interested donor, Cornerstone can run the illustration for you. So if you provide us with the donor's name, if you would like, it could be anonymous as well, and the donor's birth date, we can run an initial illustration, provide the rate for that specific gift that they're looking to give. And then you can talk to the donor, and if they want to move forward, then we can draft up the agreement for signature and get that process for you.
All right, that sounds like a pretty good process.
Yeah.
Thank you, Angela, and thank all our viewers for joining us. Make sure to tune in next time for more videos and more information that can help you out.
Great, thank you.